Welcome back everyone to another Why I video, and today we're going to be talking about why I like Regiments. So, full disclosure, I was offered a code for Regiments and its upcoming DLC, Winds of Change, which is what you're seeing some of the footage of here. It's a easiest way to put it is if you've played games like Wargame, Warno, or hell, even old school Ruse. You'll be familiar with this type of game. It's basically like a real-time grand strategy RTS where it's Cold War gone hot, and you have numerous NATO and basically Soviet Warsaw Pact forces to play as in numerous different operations and skirmish modes, and the DLC mode here, which is the war mode, Warpaths. So the base game plays entirely single player. Well, in fact, I say the base game. The entire game is single player. Unlike, obviously, the more multiplayer focused emphasis of games like Wargame and the such. This is a much more, I'll say relaxed, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean as in that it's just the pacing and everything feels a lot more comfortable. If you aren't into the kind of multitasking madness of playing a game like Warno and the such that requires you to always be sort of darting around with the camera on the field and calling new units in and doing this and the other, this is definitely a much more laid-back pace, allowing you to sort of take stock of what's going on and make your tactical decisions there. The game runs the gamut of units from infantry in several different flavours, to armoured fighting vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, helicopters, supply, artillery, anti-air, all that good stuff, with the ability to call in airstrikes via special regiment-specific abilities that are called TAC aids. And basically the way the game plays is you pick a operation. Initially they're all locked, so you have to play through them in turn and obviously unlock them, but you do have the option if you want to just skip all of them, if you just want to unlock the whole set and then go back to the start and play through them. And they usually, obviously they play in chronological order in the main game's campaign, with the narrative being played out. You start as the East Germans dealing with basically like a rebel force that turns up in the Flashpoint that starts the whole conflict, and everything spirals up from there with you swapping who you're playing in different sides, and numerous different sort of operational types come up with missions ranging from holding ground, obviously seizing different tactical objectives, escorting forces, eliminating as many enemies as humanly possible, to just outright annihilation, domination of the field, that kind of thing. The game obviously draws a lot of inspiration from other tactical war games, with maps being quite large and featuring numerous different terrain types, urban centres, hills, like obviously forests and river crossings and stuff like that. And the idea is that capturing the different locations will obviously award you with points that can be used in between phases. And the way the whole game is broken up is that every operation is broken up into a certain number of phases, and you have to try and achieve a set number of victory points to advance the operation to the next stage. So you are given your base sort of regiment that you work with all the units that are included with that, with their abilities, and then you can call in other divisions to add to that regiment. And obviously these range from other things. If you need more armor support, there will be ones for that. If you need air support or supplies, all these different kind of things, HQ units, that kind of thing, that will give buffs to basically all the forces around it, that kind of thing. Then you can call them in. You could upgrade those call-in units, so then they can unlock more units within, or they can become higher ranked versions or gain TAC aid call-in abilities, that kind of thing. And yeah, you get what's called operational, I think it's called operational authority, I think it's called. It's a resource that you get at the end of each phase based on how many objectives that you've captured and held, and then any other sort of number of enemies who are outright annihilated, that kind of thing. And then you can spend that between phases on repairing units, obviously getting them back up to full strength, being able to increase your max limit of how many points you can spend to call in units, and being able to get things like the ability to use multiple TAC aids in a mission, so you can use like artillery and airstrikes, because normally you're just restricted to one. And yeah, bits and pieces like that. And the coolest thing about it is that the game can be paused at any time. So if a particularly large group is attacked and you suddenly need to be able to reorganize the defense and get all the units in to the position that you need to sort of counteract that attack, then you can hit the spacebar, you pause it, you click around, drag and drop units, tell them where to go, and then you get back to the good stuff of fighting. Units obviously have a lot of positional awareness that you have to take into account. If you just drive a tank over to a group of enemies but they've exposed their side, they'll take more damage. If they're being hit by numerous enemy units, you'll want to do things like reverse away rather than tell them to just go, because the tanks will turn around and drive away, exposing their rear armor. Same with infantry and stuff like that. So you have to sort of keep in mind positioning of your units. Placing them inside woodland will obviously give them defenses, but if there are too many trees in the way, they can't see the units, so they can't engage them. So there's a lot of sort of tactical thing that you have to put into it to make sure that you're not going to just dob a bunch of units around an area, think you're solid in your defense, and then realize, oh, the enemy can see me, but my units can't see them, and then they start raining artillery on you, start losing men. You can do things like retreat units off the field, which will spare them from annihilation, but it means that you're now a unit down, and you'll have to wait before you'll be able to call in a replacement of that unit onto the field. And when they do, they always spawn at your sort of, I guess it's supposed to be counted as like your sort of ingress point of the map, and that's where all your supplies are stored. Units that get damaged, you can tell them to go to the supply point, where they will get healed and repaired and fully rearmed. But it's a bit of a gamble. How far is that in comparison on the map? Is it from one end to the other? It might not be viable to send a unit of tanks all the way over there. Sometimes you might just want to retreat the tanks or use the supply unit to move up and do what repairs they can and get them rearmed. So yeah, there's a lot of nice little sort of tactical features in there, which I think a lot of people will appreciate. The game's difficulty can be tailored however you want it. You can play it on easy mode if you want, like me, a scrub. But I found it quite fun. It was nice to be able to jump in and play a bunch of it and just, get a couple of phases done, because phases do last a while. They'll take upwards of 30 minutes, and depending on certain events that might kick off, which you get to choose whether they're good or bad events, you may end up in a much longer scenario, 35 or 40 minutes at a time. So on the other hand, it's also a game that you can boot up, play a battle for 30 minutes if that's all the time you've got, and then you can just leave straight after, come back to it any time. Multiple save files for running multiple operations from different start points if you want to do that. And as I said, with the difficulty, you can make units more accurate, less accurate. You can give them more hit points and increase their ratings, so they're higher quality troops or lower quality troops. So you can do all kinds of stuff like that if you want. You can also modify a few other gameplay tweaks as well before you start the operation. So if you do find the game too easy, then you can tailor your difficulty. There are also base difficulty settings, like I think there are 4 in total. So if you do really want to just go for the most difficult challenge, you can right off from the bat, and then tailor that however you feel. The DLC, Winds of Change, is a pretty significant one. 3 updates in the past, I believe, added the UK and the Netherlands, along with another Warsaw Pact force. I believe it was Poland. Whereas the Winds of Change DLC that's coming out adds a new mode, which is the Warpaths. Warpaths is a completely random sort of kind of roguelike, I guess you can say. It basically picks a random operation with a random objective. You set how long the operation lasts, which can be several days, which is a few phases, to a monstrously long campaign that will see you going back and forth with different missions unlocking as you achieve different goals throughout the entire campaign. And because it's random every time, you can have a sort of different experience with all of it without having to replay the operations, which is a nice touch. The new the new nations that are added with the Netherlands, Canada, and Czechoslovakia, alongside the new mode. You can do all the same tailoring of the difficulty as you need, and the new operational authority option comes into this one, which is one that allows you to have basically signals intelligence that will warn you that an enemy force is attacking. It's so many platoons in size. so it gives you an idea that the enemy has just spawned and now they're moving toward your objectives. And the footage that you're seeing here, or for a good chunk of it at least, is one where I picked to play as the UK, and I had an escort mission. So basically the entire middle of the map has friendly units that are obviously moving out from a previous battle. They're going from point A to B to exit the map. All I have to do is make sure that those units survive. And yeah, there are numerous objectives that can be captured by the enemy, and I'm basically just reinforcing them. Escort is one mission type, but as I said earlier, you do get things like attacking, defending, meeting engagement, raids, recon in force, interception, which is basically the opposite version of escort. And yeah, you sort of go through that however you want. It's got some nice little touches here and there. I've found it quite fun. Personally, it's not been too bad. Plus, the price won't break the bank, I will say, for the base game. So yeah, it's pretty good. You know, Winds of Change does add quite a few new units as well across the board for both Warsaw Pact and NATO. You've got F-16 variants in there, MiG-29s, MiG-21s. You've got new versions of AMX-30s. You've got ERC-90s. Also, we've got the Canadian Lynx helicopters. You've got Gazelles. You've got the Mi-2 CSLA. You got new infantry coming in there as well. Different APCs for France and the Netherlands, Czechoslovakia, Canada, and all that. So they've worked to expand the game. And as I said, cost-wise, the game isn't a deal breaker. If you were just interested in the base game, you're looking at a relatively low cost compared. I mean, for me, it's like £24. There is a demo as well if you just want to try it out, which is always great to see. So if you do fancy having a quick look at it, have a try of the demo, which it's pretty fun. Yeah, the base game. I don't think they actually. I don't know. They haven't got a price for Winds of Change, so unfortunately, I can't actually give an update on the price of that. But yeah, it comes out on August 16th, so this coming Friday, or this Friday. And yeah, if you are interested in these kind of games, give it a look. You know, check it out. And yeah, let me know if you've had a go of it, if you tried the demo, or if you've played it before. What's your opinion? What do you think of it? Personally, I don't think it's too bad. Obviously, you may be able to look at it again. So I'm slightly biased. I was given a code, and that is entirely true. But yeah, genuinely, as I've said in the past with these things, it's yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's published by Microprose, who have been on a bit of a tear recently and just coming out of nowhere and just releasing lots of interesting little games from smaller developers. This one being made by Bird's Eye Games, or Bird's Eye Games, and not the Fish Fingers brand. And so yeah, I think they've done a pretty decent job in making something that's different from what could be argued as the competition, let's say, from Mugen Systems. You've got a single player one here that you can play at your own pace, in your own clothes, in your own house, and feel comfortable with it. And yeah, it's not bad. So I'll stop rambling now. I've rambled. Yeah, check it out. There's a link to the Steam page below if you want to have a look at it. Otherwise, have yourselves a good day. Thanks once again for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye bye.